Hi, this is Bob Papa, voice of the New York Football Giants, and this is the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast.
Take myself off mute. Welcome back, Giants fans, to the latest edition of the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. As always, proudly in association with Annie's Man Club. Lads, remember, it is okay to talk. Again, your eyes don't deceive you, people. For the fourth week in a row, we are 75% British, 25% Irish, but as always, still 100% Giants. 4 weeks running, full house again, or as Steve referred... No, it was not Steve. Who refers to it as a full barn? Peter, innit? Someone.
Right, it's Mayo.
Mayo. I'll get there in the end. It's a full barn. Mr. Optimism Shane, Kev, we'll talk about college football final shortly. And Craig, back with you, looking at all of our pending free agents. Sorry, Kev, had to. Looking at all of our pending free agents, where we're going to make a case to re-sign one of them each. Well, who we'd want to re-sign anyway. And coming up later on as well, we've got a nice little section from our college experts, Shane and Kev, of how to scout and what they look for, and give you a few little tips. And yeah, looking forward to that because I'm going to make some notes too. So it should be a good evening. Boys, how we doing? Friday night.
Friday night lights. It's good to be on. No other way to spend a Friday night really is that, I've got my coffee. I'm sure Kev's probably got a beer unless he's got work tomorrow morning. No water. Wow. I'm going to address the elephant.
No, he's had plenty of beer this week, no doubt.
I was going to say, is this like easing off the beer after Monday night?
Oh, lads. Yeah, no, the easy one tonight. Like I said, on Monday evening, I stayed up. I ended up getting the first train home at 6 a.m. back to Tuesday morning, back home to Watford after a grueling night of watching the national championship where, unfortunately, the better team did win on the night and they just were too much for us. So it was a bit of a hard watch. Good first drive, but they just sort of scored in the next sort of 4 or 5 possessions and just too good for us. We rallied late in the sort of end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, but they're always just got back to one score game in the fourth, but they were just a little bit too far ahead. And they were the best team. Their weapons they have are just absolutely ridiculous. Their third, Cardell Tate, their third wide receiver would be number one for so many other teams. We couldn't really compete with the weapons they had. The two running backs, the 3 wide receivers. Just a little bit too much on the night.
At least you made it back without a black eye this time.
Yeah, I'll take that as a win. And also, I did manage to massive shout out to Peter Joyce. Peter sorted me out with Celtic Champions League ticket on Wednesday night, so I was up on the train for the one night only up in Glasgow for the best team in Scotland to see them progress into the next round of the Champions League, which was fantastic, and it was a great night, and the seats were fantastic as well. So big shout out to Peter for that. Really appreciate it.
And after that, Craig, how you doing, mate?
It's been it sounds like we've all had a week. We almost didn't have me on the podcast tonight with internet issues yesterday. So that was a nice stressful thing that was fixed this morning by PT. I also understand that we're clashing with the Traitors finale. So if you are watching, we appreciate you missing that if you're into it. But I have been well informed by a couple of listeners that how dare we clash with such a important part of the TV calendar.
Absolutely disgraceful. What an absolute disgrace we are. No, I think you'll find we're more important.
No, I don't.
I ain't got a clue.
My missus said to me when I said, "Oh, we got the podcast Friday night." She was absolutely delighted. She was like, "I get to watch the final in peace."
Mate, I can't say I've ever watched an episode, so we're not missing out much. And if anyone's watching that over this, then Shame on you. Boo. Boo. Get your priorities right. Yeah, we all have had a bit of a week. It's been a long week for me. I've been working pretty much every day, so I'm got tomorrow to go. So I'm on the root beer this evening, which is a different. It's kind of started to get used to the taste of it. It's kind of nice. But looking forward to tonight. Looking forward to the section at the end where we talk about scouting. So it's going to be a fun evening, and yeah, let's get cracking. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, X, Twitch, Facebook, get involved. Let us know which free agents you keep. Out of all our pending free agents, there's a lot. Don't forget, give the episode a thumbs up, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. We love all the feedback, as everybody always gives us, and we really, really appreciate it. We are going to kick off this evening with this week's Giant news. For the second year in a row, that Giants will be represented at both the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl, which will give the Giants coaches a prime opportunity to get hands-on time with some of the prospects for the upcoming 2025 draft. Assistant head coach and offensive coordinator Mike Kafka will be the head coach of the national team at the Senior Bowl, and he'll be going up against the Browns special teams coordinator Bubba Ventrone. I'm guessing that's how you say his name, not Ventroni. I don't know. Is it Italian? Hey, who knows?
It's a great name.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Bubba. I mean, anyone called Bubba's cool, right? They'll be here with the head coach of the American team. Mike Kafka will be joined by running backs coach Joel Thomas, who'll be the OC for the national team. And also making his way to Mobile, Alabama, will be assistant secondary coach Mike Adams, where he'll coach the DBs for the American team. And yeah, last year the Giants had quarterbacks coach Shay Tierney and assistant special teams coach Mike Evans serve as coaches. And in the draft, selected two of that year's Senior Bowl alums in Theo Johnson and Andrew Phillips. Now switching to the East-West Shrine Bowl, defensive coordinator Shane Bowen will serve as the head coach of the West team on January the 30th. This will be interesting as the projected starting quarterback for the West will be obviously Shedeur Sanders, who could be an option for the Giants in this year's draft. He's going to be joined by inside linebackers coach. I'm going to destroy this name, so apologies in advance. John Egarugwu. Did I get that right? Maybe. Who knows? Who'll be the defensive coordinator for the West. And also, I think I missed some names out on the list earlier. I'm sure Craig will correct me in a second. Last year, Mike Kafka was the head coach of the West team. And again, the Giants drafted players that were seen up close and personal. With Darius Musow and Tyrone Tracy both being picked. And I'm sure there's a couple of additions that have been added recently, isn't it, Craig?
Yeah, just the one. Assistant offensive line coach James Ferentz is going to be the offensive line coach for the American team. So, yeah, just the one. But, yeah, Joel Thomas, James Ferentz, Mike Adams, all on the American team going up against Kafka, who is on the national team. So should be interesting there. But yeah, some invaluable experience, as you said, for those coaches to get hold of players at the Senior Bowl. And then obviously when you look at the Shrine Bowl, Bowen and I'm not going to say his name, both get to see Shedeur Sanders, who's playing in the Shrine Bowl, I believe.
Go on, Craig, you've got to give it a go.
What, Igorugwe?
Oh, there we go. See, smashed it. Job done. There we go. No idea if it's right or not, but there we go.
do you know what? We should really get the practice in before Shane and Kev do our what is it, draft night, beat the truck, but it's not beat the truck, it's can Craig and Dan pronounce these horrendous names.
Yes. That is all to come, ladies and gents, in just 3 short months' time when we try and pronounce some of these guys' names and absolutely destroy them at the same time. So got that to look forward to. Moving on in news, then we've got a new defensive back coach. Well, there we go. Marquand Manuel. I mean, I might be destroying that name as well.
Apparently, it's Manuel. It's literally just Manuel.
There's nothing exciting about the surname. Then it's just Manuel.
There's no exoticness to it. No.
It's just like reading a book. It's like a manual, isn't it? Yeah. Last week's firing of the defensive passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach Jerome Henderson, and safeties coach Mike Trier as well. The Giants have revealed Henderson's replacement, Marquand Manuel, who's been with the Jets for the last 4 seasons. He will now be the secondary coach and pass game coordinator for us. He played safety for 6 different teams between 2002 and 2009, and has had coaching experience in the college game with Florida and in the NFL with Seattle, Atlanta, Philly, and with the Jets. And his highest role in the coaching game was in 2017 when he was promoted to DC for the Falcons. So ex-Falcons DC coming in as DB's coach. He's got some experience. I like it. Anyone know much of Marquand Manuel? Because I don't. No.
No, apparently he did well with limited resources at the Jets. I think there was a joke in the group chat about their main safety being called Tony Adams, and how he got a lot out of him. But yeah, apparently he's done well with an undersized safety room. But he's switching to defensive backs. We're looking at Deontay Banks pretty closely, I would imagine, there as a player who really needs something, probably a foot up the arse, but we'll see.
Sweet. Sounds good. Lastly, moving on, Mike Kafka and Brandon Brown. Obviously, there's been a lot of goings on with those two. The Saints conducted a second interview with Mike Kafka on Tuesday with him for their vacant head coach job. It's the 3rd season in a row that he's been a finalist for a head coaching role, as he was a finalist for the Cardinals in 2023 and the Seahawks last year, and now obviously the Saints this year. And another person who had a second interview is Assistant General Manager Brandon Brown. He previously met virtually with the Las Vegas Raiders. However, on Monday he had his in-person interview, and it's since been reported by Ian Rappaport on Wednesday that the team from Sin City are expected to buy Bucks together. John Spytek, that's the name in it. John Spytek, who is instrumental in building the Super Bowl 55 winning roster. Like Kafka, you saw after in 2024, he interviewed both Panthers and Chargers. So for now, it looks like Brown is staying firmly put with Big Blue. But if Kafka was to leave the Giants over the next few weeks, we would get a 3rd-round comp pick in both 2026 and 2027. So it could be beneficial for us to wave goodbye to Mike Kafka at this point. But just a little roundup of the news. Shane, are you pleased Brandon Brown isn't going anywhere for the time being?
Yeah and no. I think he's a good scout from everything that I've read. He's identified a couple of players, both when he's with Philly and with the Giants. He's been credited with kind of drafting, but I wouldn't mind them extra comp picks. So now it's going to be good. You don't want to get losing any staff this close kind of to the draft in terms of like, I know we're still 3 months away, but like, he's going to have been out there scouting. It's already been well known that he's been out on the ground at Colorado, having a closer look at Shador as well. So he's kind of just got some vital information there. And obviously he was interviewed for the Raiders, and that's the one who he was interviewed with and named the ones who were highly potentially trading up for Shador. So, I'm glad that we can keep him, and we're not losing someone who's been so important in the scouting during this college season.
Yeah, it's a good point. But yeah, the comp picks will come in handy, I think. We could always do comp picks because we need to replace so many players on the damn roster.
I think I was thinking earlier, we get some picks this year, apparently. Where was it? I was reading earlier on. Oh, that was it. So if Brown or Kafka get a GM or head coach this off-season, they'd receive picks at the end of the 3rd round in the 25 and 26 drafts. So that's according to Dan Duggan on The Athletic earlier on. However, if they get promotions elsewhere this off-season, they'd receive 3rd-round comp picks one in 25, one in 26, one in 27.
Oh, nice. I mean, we could do with all the help we need. We could do all the help we get.
Duggan's article, so who am I to argue with Dan?
Yeah, exactly that. Kev, Mike Adams, who do you think he's got his eye on at the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, all these bowls are brilliant for these coaches to go to and to sort of get to see the players up close and personal. It's not really about the game. The game is a nothing game. It's so limited in the way they play. They're so restricted. It's very vanilla. It's more about sort of like seeing them day in, day out during practice, and sort of like being around them as such. I mean, like Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart are two quarterbacks that are going to be there this week, and they're two sort of like names that get thrown around when you talk about Giants sort of second round or maybe going back into the first, something like that. So, I'd love, it'd be interesting to see, if he sort of like tries to get chatting to them too or has a good look at them too. One of the wide receivers who I absolutely love is Alik Ayumanor from Stanford. He's one of those like big body possession receivers, would be a great foil for Malik Neighbors. He's from Stanford. But speaking about sort of because he is defensive backs coach, one of the cornerbacks who I've talked about in the past, who I really like, is that Trey Amos from Ole Miss. He's going to be there as well. So I mean, there's so many players that they can actually have a really good look at and get up close to personal and work hands on with them, and be able to report back and sort of help get a few extra nuggets for the scouting reports to either help guys go up the board or drop guys down the boards.
Yeah, massively. And we've got so many coaches obviously at these games. It's just such a great sort of almost like a leg up and sort of getting to see them up firsthand before like a lot of other people do. Honestly, I know they see them on TV and everything, but actually like getting to work with them one-to-one close up, it's really sort of invaluable. Craig, do you think the Senior Bowl is going to serve as like a bit of a deal breaker for Kafka with the Saints GM Mickey Loomis? Do you think it's going to be a yay or a nay after that for him?
I'd be surprised if they wait that long. I mean, we're looking at Senior Bowl's a week today, a week tomorrow, I think. I think that's too long for the Saints to wait. If you look at how everything's falling into place, the Raiders have got Pete Carroll today. The Jags have obviously fired their GM and now picked up Liam Cohen to be their head coach. The Cowboys still have an opening there. It's just, I just feel like it's too long. Really, they need to get that sorted ASAP. It did actually shock me that, Kafka's interview on Tuesday got cancelled. So with that being cancelled, then I think it was actually today that he ended up getting interviewed. But you kind of think to yourself, if the Saints were a bit more forward thinking, they could have done that elsewhere. Like they could have rearranged that elsewhere. It didn't need to be in New Orleans. And whether that's a little hint at the fact that, the people that they're interviewing now maybe aren't their be-all end-alls and they're waiting for some people. I don't know. I know that Mike McCarthy's a pretty popular name around there as well. Kafka obviously does something right because this is the third season in a row he's got to the second round of interviews. I'm still not sold that he's going though. I'm really not. I just think that he's close, but there's just a few people who just pip him, and being on a losing team doesn't help that.
I think as well, just to add as well, I think like he's obviously high regarded in NFL circles because, as you said, Dan, before, he was head coach of the West for the Shrine Game last year, and now he's head coaches of one of the teams in the Senior Bowl. So he's obviously like he's kind of been earmarked for making that progression, and it's just a case of like when, if not if. But I like Greg says, I'm not sure if it is this year though.
Yeah, I mean, Mayonnaise made a great point there as well. They're waiting for the losing OCs from Sunday's games, which they probably are. You'd be stupid not to, really, right? I mean, I'm also in the same boat, Craig. I'm not convinced that Kafka's going anywhere, even though for the last 3 years he has been in the running for a head coaching job. I don't have the confidence that he will make that step to become a head coach just yet. It might take him another year. I don't know. I mean, we could be proven wrong, but I just can't see him going anywhere this year.
I cannot remember who it was that tweeted it out, it might have been Duggan or Renan, but they were like, Kafka's not exactly a personality who will light up a room. That's not who he is. So he's obviously, there's something else there that's keeping him in the forefront of these GMs' minds and these owners' minds. But it's not him being a brash kind of character. It's obviously his eye for detail. I just worry that if he doesn't get it, what does that mean for us? Like, does Dable pass play calling back to him? I mean, would you then potentially turn around and say, actually, he could make a lateral move elsewhere? Because I'm pretty sure the Texans got rid of their offensive coordinator today, and I think he's pretty highly thought of. I know that he didn't have amazing luck with Stroud this year, but to take Stroud from a rookie to what we saw last year was pretty impressive. So whether
the Texans are a playoff team as well.
Yeah. They were a playoff team in a poor division, but yes, they were a playoff team. They were a playoff team, but
I do wonder if some of him being linked is maybe that Pat Mahomes link, the Kansas link. Everybody knows that people like to hire GMs and OCs to become head coaches who have had success, and obviously do you turn around and say, something at New York, you've been in a shit situation, really. So we're not really going to look at what you did in New York, but bear in mind the one season, his first season he called plays, he did all right with Daniel Jones, and then obviously he's got the KC link before that.
I think that's a good point from Mayo at the bottom there, with Saints being in salary cap hell and all the void year contracts. They see Kafka as a definite yes to get out of New York. That's a very good point.
Very, very good point. Very good point. Yeah. I mean, with Kafka, obviously, there's still plenty of time for him to, like I said, to make that move if he does. But yeah, there's plenty of coaches that have got opportunities at the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl to make an impact on this year's draft. So let's hope they do, like they did last year. All right, news done and dusted. Happy days. Moving on, time to look at some of our free agents. We do have a long list. However, we're not going to go through the entire list, are we? We're just going to pick out a free agent who we'd like to re-sign, like one that stands out for us. And I believe, Kev, it's your choice first. So I'll over to you, my friend.
Yeah, I haven't gone for anything exciting or anything sexy or anything like that. I've gone for Ty Summers. He's been in the league since 2019. He was drafted by the Packers. He's been around. He's played in places like Jacksonville, the Saints. Before coming to the Giants, he was brought in purely the practice squad to be a special team player because that's sort of where he's found his niche in the league. I think he was. Every time he got called up from the practice squad, I thought he played really well on special teams. And he even found himself, starting the last few games of the season, making a few tackles here and there, not setting the world alight. But he's just one of those players I just think, just bring him back, nice cheap contract. What you're getting out of a special teamer who may be able to give you the odd couple of reps here and there.
Yeah, nice. I think T.Y. Summers is a good shout to bring back. I think he didn't have a bad season, I don't think, but I think we grade. Where did we grade him last week? I think it was a C, maybe something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Cool. Shane, who are you bringing back and why?
I'm going to name him Mr. Marmite himself, to be honest, and that's Darius Slayton. I think you either love him or hate him. He's the second longest tenured Giant after Dexter Lawrence. The only reason Dexter Lawrence has been here longer is because he was drafted 2 days before Darius Slayton. Same draft pick, but he turned up on day 3 in the 2019 draft, I want to say. The Slayton, if you bring him back, is going to be the most expensive free agent re-signing on this roster. You could bring back some other guys who will probably get mentioned in a little while, and they're probably not going to be getting the interest and the money that I think Slayton is. I think for Slayton, you're probably looking at anywhere between 12 to 14 million a year, which is going to be too expensive for some people. And I fully understand that. But the reason why I'd be bringing him back is because if you don't bring him back, who's stepping into that role? Then you're either going to be bringing in a free agent guy. Well, if Darius Slayton's acquiring 14 million a year, you're probably going to be paying 14 million or a little bit more to bring back a veteran like I mean, you look at, I'm just looking at the wide receivers at the minute. Let's say Diggs, Higgins, Godwin, they're probably going to be top of the wide receiver class. So then the next line down, I mean, you could maybe bring in a Keenan Allen, but is he probably going to want more money on a 1-year deal? And the fact that he's 33 years old as well. I'm not going to mention Deontay Johnson. Again, DeAndre Hopkins is also 33 years old. Mike Williams is 31. Darius Slayton's only 28. I've been a big fan of Darius Slayton pretty much since he's been in the New York Giants. Yeah, he's had drop problems. This year he had 7 drops, but let's be honest, every wide receiver on the New York Giants this year had drop issues. So for me, I'm bringing him back because, like I said, I think if you're gonna have to replace him irrespective. So you're going to be paying that money anyway to someone who doesn't know the system, doesn't know the locker room. And then also, if you don't bring him back, who's going to step into that role? Jalen Hyatt. You know, one Dale's a slot guy at the end of the day. So you're able to look at Jalen Hyatt stepping into that role or a rookie because Isaiah Hodgins has now gone as well. So, I mean, you know, yeah, you can maybe see what Allen Robinson's doing again if you want, but he couldn't make the roster last year.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very, very true. I mean, I'd love Slayton to stay around. I really would. I think he's still got a lot that you can give his team. Like Darren said, he's reliable, if not spectacular. And at the end of the day, you throw the ball up to him, and he's gonna more often than not catch it. Yeah, he might drop a few, but I think he's still reliable, and he is as a decent wide receiver too on this team. I think to not re-sign him, I think would be a real shame. My choice then, I've gone for Azeez Ojulari, keeping on trend with the defensive side of things. Yeah, Dave Gettleman's final year as GM, he was selected 50th overall in the second round. He selected, obviously Ojulari from the then college football champion Georgia Bulldogs, and at the time I loved the pick. I thought it was a really sort of really strong pickup in the second round, and he's since appeared in 46 games across the first 4 years of his career, recording 107 total tackles, 22 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. Now, don't forget as well, he's had some big names alongside him on that sort of defensive line, coming off the edge, to guide and help to improve his game. He's the likes of Dex, Leonard Williams, Ashawn Robinson, even they've all taken to the field alongside him, and we've seen glimpses of his potential, but we've yet to see him play to his full capabilities. I think he's more than capable of doing the job, but for whatever reason, we haven't seen that sort of full Azeez, that full package Azeez. And, injuries have obviously had a huge impact on his career so far. He's missed games in all but his rookie season as well. But this last year, he definitely saw an improvement on the field this year, in his overall numbers and just his general sort of pass rush as well, despite being on the field for less defensive snaps in 2024 than he was in 23. So you can really see the fact that he's come on as a pass rusher, which is great because, we always need pressure off the edge. But his weakness is definitely in the run game. His run defense is a concern, and it needs a lot of work. But that's not necessarily the be all and end all. It was reported, obviously, during the season that Joe Shane listened to offers up to and including a 5th round pick before the trade deadline, but we made the decision to keep hold of him. Is that a decision we will regret? Not taking whoever offered that up? Don't know. But like I said, his 2024 was strong. He finished the season 28 total tackles, 6 sacks, 1 fumble recovery in just 11 games. So pretty good for someone who really specialised pass rusher to get 6 sacks across 11 games. Not bad, right? It doesn't sound hugely productive, but the 2 games he had, most notable impact in the home games against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, whilst Kayvon Thibodeau was on IR. So when a big name like Tibbs was on IR, he sort of came out of his shell a bit and actually produced when he needed to. He's got the potential to be used as a pass rush specialist, which I think would be great. And should the Giants opt to sign him into a new deal, $5 to $10 million a year, according to multiple sources, for a second string edge rusher, potentially $5 million a year over 2 years. Would you say no to that? Probably not. If he's going to get you 6 to 10 sacks a year, would you pay him $5 to $10 million a year? I probably would. So Aziz, I'd like to see you stick around, my friend. And then Craig, you're lost. I wonder who you've gone for.
Is it strange that this has kind of come full circle now from saying that I think he's awful and shouldn't be there to now saying that I want to bring him back? He's kind of captured my heart a little bit, hasn't he? Old Emir Smith-Marset. He's a New Jersey native as well, so it kind of makes sense, and it's not going to be that expensive. So, he was drafted in 2021. He's been on 4 teams since then. He was at the Vikings, Chicago. He was picked up by the Chiefs. He then went to the Panthers, and obviously he's with the Giants this year. Minimal games in his rookie year, but did have 6 targets, 5 receptions, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns in Minnesota. He had 1 catch for 15 yards for Chicago before being waived, picked up by the Chiefs, activated for the finale, wasn't used as a passer. 7th round pick swap in the 2023 season saw him go to the Panthers. 8 catches, 10 targets, 79-yard punt return touchdown, re-signed, released in August. Obviously, we didn't use him as a receiver because, as I covered a few weeks ago, we don't use receivers outside of our top 4, really. But he has that ability there. But as a returner, he appeared in all 15 games that he was available for, 40 total kick returns, only 1 muff catch, surprisingly. 11 kickoff returns, 381 yards, rate of 34.6 a return, which is really good. I know he wasn't the sort of sole kick returner with the fumble machine Eric Gray back there as well. But he did have the kick return touchdown that obviously warranted a specific purchase that's still in the works. In the punt game, 29 returns, 228 yards, rate of 7.9. Should have included a touchdown, but was called back against the Saints. The biggest reason for me to say bring him back is the fact that the last 2 seasons, we've completely mishandled return duties. And it's almost a malpractice by our GM and coaching staff in the fact that we had no dedicated returner in 2023 and we had to scramble and we brought in Gunnar Olszewski, who obviously did really well. And then we knew that Gunnar had an injury going into week 1 last season, which he aggravated in week 1 in the warm-up, meaning we didn't have a dedicated returner again. And I think if there's one thing that these last 2 seasons has really proved, it's the fact that a dedicated returner can actually make a big difference to a team, even if you're not going to use them at the wide receiver position. So I think if you look at both of them, Emir is 3 years younger than Gunnar coming into this season. They're both re-signable at a league minimum, which would be about 1.197 million. I'd get them. I would actually get them both and have them compete in camp. But I think Smith-Marset is probably the favour there, just because of the 3 years sort of less tread on the tyres, and with Gunnar coming off an injury that happened in week 1 and kept him out for the entire season. He'll have rust to shake off, whereas Smith-Marset only got better as the season went on.
And you know what, as well, we gave him a lot of stick, especially after the Carolina game. But like you said, he just got better as the season went along. And realistically, he's probably the best return specialist that we have on the books right now. I think Gunnar, obviously, he was really good in 23. But because he was out all last year injured, he's going to be rusty as anything when he comes back. So Why do you throw away the hot hand as well? You know, if Smith Marset is on the up, then I say keep him, and he'd be an absolute steal as well. It would be pennies in comparison, so I can't see why we wouldn't keep him.
Here's a sort of question for the rest of you, just to pipe in if you think. But Gunner might be a safer option, but I feel like Smith Marset might have the more unpredictability and the speed than what Gunner probably doesn't have. Is that a fair assessment, Kev?
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I mean, like, will Gunner catch the ball every single time? Yeah, pretty much. Will he get you a couple of yards on the return? Solid? Yeah, absolutely fine. But Smith Marset gives you that, like, break home or whatever he said, like, you know, home run sort of ability when he's got the balls in his hands. You actually believe, and we've seen now, because you have to buy a jersey, that he can actually take it all the way to the house. You know what I mean? So there is that
Shots
sort of
fired.
little bit of unpredictability, but also, you know, there is a chance where you know, he's got the ball in his hands. What's he going to do with it? Whereas Gunner was like, all right, he's caught it, lovely. We start roughly here and we go forward.
I mean, he did have that hurdle as well, didn't he? Was that against the Saints? I think it was, where was it against the Saints, or it might have been a week later. But yeah, he had the hurdle where obviously he jumped over whoever it was on the sideline. And I mean, that fired everyone up, I think, as well.
Yeah, big time. And I think. What was the original question?
Is he more? Has he got a bigger dynamic side to him, upside, than what Gunner does?
I think he does. I think he's got more, just like sort of burst. He's got more sort of excitement about him. There's like, he can make that cut, he can make that spin move. You know, I think there's more to him than Gunner. Don't get me wrong, I think Gunner's great, and I think, you know, we saw his punt return for touchdown, and that was a great play as well. But I just think, yeah, Smith Marset there's something about him. You know, he's got that fire in his belly, and being fairly local, you know, being a New Jersey native as well. I think, you know, keep him on.
I think the one thing as well is that Gunner didn't return kickoffs for us. He was a punt guy purely, whereas obviously Smith Marset gives us a bit of both, which will help as well. It's sort of one less roster spot, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. Cool. All right. So Aziz, Smith Marset, Slayton, T.Y. Summers. There's 4 there. Obviously, we've got plenty more free agents, and there's plenty more that we want to keep around. But I think, you know, there's names on there like the likes of Casey Crichton, Jamie Gillen. They're no brainers. They're like, if we don't keep them on, there's something seriously wrong. But at the same time, you know, I think all 4 of them that we've mentioned, all, you know, there's cases made for all of them there, and there's good reasons to keep all of them on. The likelihood is we won't, but I think, you know, they're definitely. Well, are we going to keep them all on? I don't know. It's unlikely, I reckon. But
I think Slayton's probably the least likely of the 4, I would say.
Exactly.
I also like the fact that there's a little smorgasbord of everything there. You know, we've got a wide receiver, got an edge rusher, 2 special teams specialists, essentially. You know, we haven't gone for the home run picks. You know, there are other players out there, Deontay Johnson, who I would look at bringing back just so Shane can predict him to get 130 tackles again.
I mean, I'm surprised Shane didn't pick him.
Did you not pick him just because of that?
Yeah, I ain't forgiving him.
How dare you get injured in pre-season?
Let me look a fool. I'm sad about myself.
I love it. Craig, there's a question, isn't there, you wanted to throw up?
But there's 3 questions that we might as well address before we go into the college stuff, just because it all makes sense around this. So
go for it.
Shane, if you want to go for this one first, because I know you'll have opinions on both. What about 5th-year option, guys?
Good question.
Okay, Evan Neal's a no. Let's just, elephant in the room. Evan Neal, no, don't take his 50-year option. There's a job waiting for him at McDonald's where he can flip burgers. Happy days. See you later. Thank you.
Shots fired.
Now, genuinely, I wouldn't pick up the 5th-year option on Evan Neal, but we need to see him at guard this year. Or what I do not want to see, I do not want to see him play tackle. I do not want to see him not get any snaps. And I do not want to see him go to another team next year and then play fucking all-pro at guard, because that'll just piss me raw. I'll be done with this team if that happens, I swear to God. Like, I'll be writing a strongly worded Black Country email to John Mara.
A very strongly worded email to John Mara. I love that.
Just for context as well, the 5th-year options have to be taken up by the 30th of May, I believe. And Kayvon Thibodeau's is 16 million. And Evan Neal's is 17.4 million. Oh. That's obviously for the 2026 season you're picking these options up for.
Like, genuinely, how is anyone giving 17 million for Evan Neal and going, sold? I'm having that. Like, who's doing that? Nobody. Absolutely no one. The Thibodeau ones.
If they're not willing to pay for a free agent like Darius Slayton anywhere near that, then how can they pay Evan Neal 17 million just for that year? That's criminal.
Exactly. We do need to see him play guard though. Like, what you got left to lose? Thibodeau's a tough one. Thibodeau is a really hard one, because do I think he's playing like a $16 million a year player right now? Not really, if I'm honest. I'd probably rather it be sub 14 million. I'd be happy to pay him kind of, say, 12, 13 million a year. I'd be happy to pay him. I understand that he's not going to want that. He's going to want a lot more. But then this comes back to the old, what do you do at pick number 3? And like,
yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, just looking at over the cap here quickly, you've got the likes of Hassan Reddick, who's on 15 mil a year. Would you choose Hassan Reddick or Kev and Thibodeau?
Did Reddick have a good season last year?
I don't think so, no. But that's not the point.
Yeah, a good season the year before.
DeMarcus Lawrence for the Cowboys is on 13 mil a year. And it's like,
he's 33.
It's the age as well, and you pay so much money for the age. I think if it was me,
there's some big names on that list, and then nowhere near that 16 million a year, and it's almost like, can you justify it really?
But then you look at the players around. Look at around 15 mil, right? You got the Wusu for the Seahawks. You got 15 Reddick, you said, 17 for Alex Highsmith, 17 for Bryce Huff, 17.5 for Harold Landry, 19 for Grenard. Then you start getting up to the bigger boys. So would you pay it for 1 year? Like, what's he going to be asking for if he was a free agent?
I think your problem is if you don't take up that 5th-year option at 16 million, there's no way Thibodeau's reached. That's going to piss Thibodeau off. Let's be honest. Thibodeau's going to feel disrespected, a little bit like Daniel Jones was back when his 5th-year option wasn't picked up, and then we all seen what happened.
Yeah,
you overpay, and then you don't see production. So if it is me, I probably would pick up the 5th-year option. Yeah. But we might as well just throw the spoiler out there. If he's at number 3, I'm taking my boy. Regardless of what you do with it.
There you go.
If you look at Thibodeau, though, I think because the 5th-year option has to be taken up by May, the end of May this year, right? They have to make that decision. Who's our GM right now? Who picked Thibodeau as in his first ever draft? That's why his 5th-year option gets picked up. Because if they're not picking up Neal's, there's no way that he's turning around and going, neither of my first-round picks are worth a 5th-year option. That's what it comes down to.
If he does that, then he might as well go, I'll just give up now.
Yeah, he might as well say, I've wasted 2 first-round picks.
Mm-hmm. Exactly that.
Another option you do at that point, is you could pick up the 5th-year option and maybe start negotiating a deal for him to sign longer.
Yeah,
and getting cheap early.
I think exactly, Shane. That's a great point, because it's happened in the past as well. Thing is, like, has he played well enough where it's an absolute no-brainer? No, but I think he's played well and shown enough that it's an easy yes, not like an absolute 100% go run up to the podium and get it signed. But I do think it's okay, sign him to the 5th year option. That makes sense. Get another year out of him. So that means on the books for another 2 years. So you get to see what you've got 2 years, and maybe try and get a cheaper deal done before he has a breakout. That's if you believe that he will be able to make that breakout.
Just going to flip it around. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, Craig. Sorry. Just a very quick all three of you. Was picking up.
You're going off on a tangent.
I know, yeah.
It's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah. We have to find it in somewhere. I feel like 45 minutes is about the right mark. Just a quick yes or no, really, for this. Does picking up the Thibodeau 5th year option prevent any of you from drafting Abdul Carter?
No.
Absolutely not.
That's what a lot of fans are going to do. A lot of fans will say, "Oh, if you're picking up the 5th year option, then don't then have a third edge rusher."
If anything, Giants fans, especially Giants fans, should know the benefit of having 3 good pass rushers or more than 2 starters. If you have 3 or 4 starters, pass rushers, do you know what I mean? That's kind of how we got our NASCAR packages and stuff like that, and how we sort of were able to win those Super Bowls in 07 and 11 because we had people like Kiwanuka and people like who were seen as starters, but were in rotation with the Justin Tucks and the other players like.
Sorry, I only know losing seasons.
Oh yeah, you're not fortunate enough to remember those days, are you, Shane? That's a great point. It's a great point. Other questions, crack on.
Jordan Renan reported I'm guessing that's interested in Derek Carr. Very quick one for this one because we won't get into Derek Carr too much, but would you have Derek Carr as your bridge option? There's a no from Dan.
I would.
Quick answer is, me personally, no, but I can see it happen. It's exactly the type of move that the Giants would do.
So I was listening to Giant Insider earlier, and they were talking about whether they thought Derek Carr would come in on the kind of deal where you turn around and you're like, in week 8, the rookie quarterback's going to come in. Would he accept that kind of deal? And I don't think Derek Carr's the kind of person who would. I think there are other quarterbacks out there who would, but that's an interesting one. Right, Shane, let's wrap this up before we go on to college football. You can go first. You are the GM of the New York Giants. What is your ideal dream scenario for the quarterback room this offseason?
Ooh, what a question that is, Mayo. Come on.
So a vetting free agency, I don't care whether that's Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, that kind of veteran player. I'm not really interested in a Justin Fields, to be honest with you, because I feel like if you bring Justin Fields in, you're probably going to want to bring him in for a 2-year deal. But then what if he does well? So I don't want to tamper with that. I just want to bring in a veteran quarterback who can get us starts, hopefully get us a few wins, and the rookie quarterback can learn off. The question is, who's the rookie quarterback going to be? I'm not touching Shador Sanders or Cam Ward. I'm sold on that now. I've no interest in either of them. I've got to be honest with you, and I know Kev's going to get a probably cheeky little smile and he's not going to feel a bit funny when I say this, but Jackson Dart's appealing to me more and more. See, I know Kev's on more thinking. Jackson Dart is really starting to appeal to me. I'm watching tape on him, I'm reading up on him, and I'm like, I'm just going to say it out there because not many fans have said it, but the last Ole Miss quarterback we had died too bad. So
there we go.
That's my ideal scenario. It's a veteran quarterback like a Cousins, Carr, Russell Wilson, only on 1-year deals, whichever one it is, I don't really care. And then I'd like to try and draft Jackson Dart, and I'm fine with moving into the first round and getting the 5th year option for him. So like drafting him at 20, 28 or something. But I think he's going to be one of these players whose stock is going to rise.
Kev, you got excited about the Dart thing, so.
I am. I'm on the Dart train, and so I am. I'm on that GG. Get on with me, lads. Ideal scenario for me would be, and Shane's going to love this as well, would be Carter at 3, trade back into the first for Dart, sign Justin Fields on a 2-year deal, because I think Dart might need 2 years. We'll get into it a little bit later on, but the system he played in college is a college system, not really an NFL system. So he might need the 2 years to sort of like really develop. You kind of hope a full year sitting. It doesn't happen these days, I know. Full year sitting and then pushing to start in the second year. That would be my ideal scenario.
Keep talking, Kev. Don't stop.
Oh,
How you
that
doing?
sounded. I mean, I know it's late on Friday night, but let's not go there.
Let's keep it PG. Come on.
Keep talking, Kev.
He's literally just read out my ideal draft. Like, I'm on board for that.
Yeah, fair.
Dan,
Nice.
are either of us going to give this a shot? I tell you what, I'm not going to give it a shot, but I'm going to throw a name in there that I keep seeing on Twitter, and I'm going to watch Shane launch his coffee cup at the wall. But I keep seeing Mac Jones mentioned to the Giants.
I've seen it too.
I never want to see the word Jones on the back of the Giants jersey ever again. Never, ever.
Please let him have the number 8 jersey as well.
Oh, God.
We can recycle.
Unburned, unburned jerseys.
Could you imagine that? Jones and 8.
Oh, fucking Mac Jones. Kill me now. Kill me now. I don't want Mac Jones anywhere near our franchise.
Oh
Jesus
I've seen it a lot.
I've seen this episode multiple times. I know where it ends.
In pain with Mac Jones at quarterback. No, I couldn't. I mean, the number one standout for me, I think I would love to get on board is Russell Wilson. If you haven't watched the in-season version of Hard Knocks with the AFC North, go and watch it, because you see some really great insight into all 4 teams in the AFC North. But I've paid a particularly close attention to Russell Wilson because of the rumours and the talk about him, and just an absolute consummate professional. And if he came into this team for a year, he may not set the world alight, but at the same time, he just seems to know. He's just got so much experience, and yeah, he fills you with confidence. And to have a rookie quarterback learn under him would be absolutely ideal. Somebody like Jackson Dart, for instance, to sit there for a year or 2 years and learn under him would be absolutely ideal, because he's an insane role model. He's an insane quarterback, and I think he'd be great in New York for 2 years. And let's not forget as well, who's he married to? Ciara. She loves a bit of New York. So Russell Wilson, I think, would be ideal for me. But that's a big sort of hope and pray and wish, and you hope the Steelers get rid of him. But yeah, there we go. That's just my thoughts on that. Rookie wise, I don't know enough about them to be able to pick one, but that's what the next 6 to 8 weeks are all about learning. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Pete said Sanders is not the best, but he thinks he's the best. We need that more than anything. I mean, we need a bit of confidence. So you're not wrong.
Did you see the Cam Ward, Shador Sanders thing today? So they're working out together, and there was a quote. Let me see if I can quickly find it, because it was pretty funny. Ward Sanders. So yeah, they're working out together, and they were arguing about who's better, and Cam Ward said that he's generational, and Shador Sanders said, "You may be generational, but I'm legendary." And Cam Ward said, "Legendary about to get their ass whooped."
I mean,
love it.
Talk about confidence. Talk about confidence, but wow.
I'm seeing a lot of chatter the last few days about the Titans willing to trade back, and the Giants sort of maybe wanting to get up to first overall for Cam Ward, obviously.
Do not do it. I'm telling you now, Joe Shane, do not do it.
He's in self-preservation mode, though.
Abdul Carter, no matter what.
I think obviously we'll talk about all these prospects over the next however many weeks, but you know, now that we're not in the top 2, those two are realistically, they're going to go in in the top two. You'll be very, very surprised if neither of them don't. So it's almost like, do you want to move up one space or two spaces and give up the world for somebody who, in last year's class, where would they being ranked in last year's class? So I don't know. It's year and year, I know, but yeah, we'll see, and we'll talk about it plenty more over the next few weeks. But enough of that. Let's move on and actually learn how to scout college players. We get lots of questions asked about it. How do you, especially, well, I say we, Kev and Shane get asked lots of questions about it. Me and Craig, we just sit back and just watch and enjoy. Yeah, there we go. I mean, but yeah, scouting college players and how to do it and how they do it and what if they got any tips. So yeah, Shane, they're going to give an insight into how they scout players, what they look for on film, and any tips for scouting yourself. So get your questions in. If you've got any questions that you want to ask them while they're going through this, feel free, get them in, and I'm sure they'll do their best to answer any questions. But we're going to start by looking at quarterback, I believe. Oh, look at that name. We've already mentioned that before. Ole Miss quarterback, Jackson Dart. Take it away, boys. I'm going to make notes.
I mean, I'll start by saying the first thing that appeals to me is like, what a sick way to spell Jackson. Like, I'm sold already.
Yeah, man.
Before I've even watched any tape, I'm sitting up, I'm like, Jackson spelt with an X. All right, then. Yeah, okay. I'm interested.
Rebel.
You piqued my interest immediately.
And it's like
Rebels, right?
The surname Dart as well, like throwing darts. It's just he's made to be a quarterback. But yeah, looking at quarterbacks, some of the things that I look at, so size is quite big for me. A lot of things I look at is, I like quarterbacks to be at least 6'2", about 220 pounds, 220 pounds. Obviously, if a player is elite in other traits, then sort of you can look at that. You can give up some on that. Arm strength is big. Can he make the throws? Short, long. A lot of quarterbacks can make deep throws, but they stay in the air for ages. Like, can they make a deep throws by actually getting it down the field as quickly as possible? And sometimes can you put touch on it as well? Look at athleticism. How mobile are they? Do they move around the pocket? Someone like Tom Brady isn't a mobile quarterback, but the way he maneuvered inside the pocket was phenomenal. The other side of it is, are they athletic? Can they run the ball when needs be? Can they pick up the first down when they need it? In general accuracy, how accurate are they? Do they miss many throws? And that's why me and Shane always talk about watching highlights can give you a feel for a player, but they're highlights. That's why the All 22 film is brilliant, because you get to see every play from both angles. So you get to see, all the throws to see if they are accurate or if they're not. Decision making. Are they thrown into triple coverage? That type of thing. Are they not taking their check downs when they should? All these type of things are things I look at. Leadership as well. Then sort of like coming off the actual stuff you see on film. Leadership. I like to watch to listen to Mel Kiper and other people talk about these players as well, to see what type of player they are. Do their teammates like them as a leader? Do they follow them? Is there any unrest or anything like that? And also stats as well. Stats aren't the be all and end all, because stats can be skewed, but it's good to see, someone throw for 4,000 yards, for example, and 30 touchdowns and only 5 picks, so basically I will collate all those type of stuff, get all the quarterbacks down, and then I'll start going through those processes. And obviously stuff like combine pro days, they're all sort of if you're looking at a player, because we're not experts, we just kind of watch the film, start off with a list. You start off with a list. I'll pick a guy called Broshmo. He has a really good list. Start off there, and then I go through and work out watching the film. Okay, I think this guy's a little bit better, so I'll move him up or move people down and stuff like that. And then take into account all the other things. Obviously, the combine stuff is good to put in there, and sort of if guys are kind of similar, if you're they're kind of similar, kind of the same, then maybe you will go to the combine results and go, well, okay, he's a little bit more mobile, so maybe he's a little bit more explosive, so maybe I'll move him up a little bit more, and then you're gonna get to find out the speed, strength, and all that type of stuff. But those are the type of things I look for when talking about QBs, is the stuff I mentioned before. Watching the film, pocket presence, accuracy, decision making, those type of things. And obviously, I can only think I know what's supposed to happen on a play. I don't know what the actual result, the outcome's supposed to be. But just to give you a little bit of insight.
Anything you would do differently, Shane, or you look at differently for a quarterback?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. So kind of one of the big things I'm interested in is experience. How long have they been around in the league? So, you've got like a guy like Jackson Dart, who's had 1 year at USC and 2 at Ole Miss. Probably not the kind of the experience that we want. So straight away, I'm already thinking, okay, this is a quarterback who may not necessarily be good to come in and start day one, which is what Kev alluded to earlier about having to sit for a bit of time. Whereas, just looking at my notes here, a quarterback like Tyler Show, he's had 2 years at Oregon, 2 years at Texas Tech, and 2 years at Louisville, so he's very experienced. Another thing I'll look at, not in so much in terms of stats, but I'll have a look at the opposition that they've come up against. Because, if a quarterback's throwing 4 touchdowns and no interceptions against Florida State, I'm like, not really the best opposition. Whereas, obviously, if he's playing someone like a Penn State or Notre Dame...
Son of a bitch. You motherfucker.
But no, I will do that. It's like, for instance...
Absolute shots.
I will have a look at who he's played, because if he's not played any of the, if he doesn't play in kind of the Big Ten, the SEC, a smaller score, that means the opposition he's come up against has not really been great. So then when he does have that game against a, top 25 team, I'll have a look at that as well. And then kind of in terms of the plays, I like to... One of the big things, and we saw this with Daniel Jones at the NFL level, is just watching the helmet on a play. Just watch the helmet and see how much it's moving, because that's going to tell you straight away if he's eyeing the one guy he's got to go to, or if he's actually going through his progressions. And then at the time the ball comes out, you kind of get an idea, are they leading with the eyes, or they may be shifting the safety, a crossover, which there's one play that Jackson Dart made in particular, I think it was in the bowl game this year, where he pulled the safety over and he threw a dart. See what I did there? To his wide receiver. And then one other thing I like to look at as well is I like to watch the play after an interception to see how the players dealing with it, how they've coped. Has it knocked them out their rhythm? Are they completely shook, or are they just like, what? Like, was it Wink Martindale, I think, once referred to Ty Banks, memory of a goldfish. It's gone, it's in the past, let's forget about it, let's move on. Or is it something that they're kind of constantly thinking, and you can see by the way maybe they're a bit more panicked when they get sacked? How do they react on the next play? Are they a little bit more aware? They're a little bit more panicky? They're throwing it the minute they kind of feel any kind of pressure at all? So that's just some additional things that I look for, as well as Kevin. I'm sure Kev probably looks at a lot of that stuff as well.
Cool. So I guess if we bring up the Jackson Dart footage, we'll just play it through, and obviously just let me know when you want to move on to the next one.
Yes, this is the first play of this game against Wake Forest, and I just put this one in to show like what's he doing on the first play. This one you can see from the next angle. It's a very RPO heavy system, so run past option. So he has the option to give it to the running back or pull it and make the throw. So obviously on this one, you can tell, he looks for his guy open. So he keeps the ball. His guy comes open and he passes, makes a lovely pass for the outright. But one thing, because it's the first play, I was thinking then to watch, does he stare down his first read? And Jackson Dart does actually. He does look at a lot of the his first option is the go-to. And that's a little bit because of the RPO. Because you're doing run past options, so you have a chance of getting men down the field when you don't want them down the field, offensive linemen. So it has to be a quick passing game, and that's why generally this type of offense works in college, but doesn't quite translate to the NFL. So I just wanted to see a bit more. But then you're predicting what he'll do.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see anything on this play, but kind of one of the things for me as well is what they're identifying pre-snap. Are they picking up blitzers? Are they making any audible calls, switching the plays, etc.? Because again, that's just going to show you their intelligence and their awareness as to what the defense is possibly showing.
Next.
yes, sir.
Next.
So I just want to show this one as well. So he's he snapped the ball, he's dropped back, taking his drop back, and he's looking around to see this going through his progression. So you can see here, he's looked at 1, 2, 3. It's not on, so he's able to go then and pick up the yards with his feet. I don't know if he gets the first down on it. I don't think so, but he gets positive yardage, which is exactly what you want to do. And there he looks like he slides properly as well. He slides forward properly with his feet, so he's not getting absolutely mullered. But
knows how to slide.
Yeah,
that's a shame. Shane must underline that 3 times. Like, yeah, that's a positive there. Knows how to slide.
Yeah, if you dive head first, you're off the board.
Yeah, get out.
Just put that in to show like him going through the progressions. Nothing opens, so he makes a good decision to run the ball.
And he don't panic when nothing's open either.
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to say to you guys. Do you look for sort of like a really sort of like someone that's in the pocket? They got like a really good pocket presence, like they're cool, calm, collected, and obviously not make any sort of like rash decisions or anything like that. Like, how much do you look for that? Is that something you really look for?
Oh, big time. Some people will leave if the first read's not open, just leave the pocket straight away and run straight away. But then you have someone like Shedeur Sanders, who probably is too comfortable in the pocket and he stays in there too long. And that's one of the reasons why he gets a lot of sacks, offensive line as well. But next. Right, so this one, yeah.
What we got here?
So he's looked right, nothing's open. So he's gone to his middle read, this tight end down the seam. Now, how often have we seen opposition get the tight end down the seam on us? Do you know what I mean? Like, in this type of play, someone like Theo Johnson would like absolutely love. So you see him here now. He snaps the ball, does a RPO, has a look over. That's not open. He comes back to the second read, and his tight end's up the seam.
If you just take that back, I don't know if you can pause it, Craig. Like kind of right at the view behind, kind of the Madden view. So if you could just pause it when he gets the ball in his hand.
That bit or this bit?
Yeah, so you do notice he has a quick glance beforehand to see where's his wide receiver running. Is there a linebacker sitting there or not? And then he goes out right, sees there's nothing there. So then he instantly knows, because he literally just has a split second glance of a look, kind of peripheral vision, so to speak. And that's how he knows to throw that ball. He looked right, nothing's there, bam, straight away. He already knows where his receiver's running.
So this shows me as well that because it's a lot of first read throws, but he can actually go through progressions, and it's something that this looks like it could translate to the NFL. And with this system as well, what I noticed a lot of the games I watched, there's a lot of throwing out wide, a lot of throwing to receiver screens or wide receiver running backs coming out of the backfield. A lot of those type of throws. And I just want to put this one in to show that he went there and then he came back over the middle.
So just out of interest, when you're watching something like this and you're looking at the quarterback, what happens if somebody else catches your eye, whether it be from Ole Miss or Wake Forest, who's obviously the opposition here? Would you make a note and then go back to them? So, for example, like the tight end, that's a pretty crisp route. He's hauled that in, like safe hands straight away up the field, breaks a tackle. Like, would you then go, okay, I want to have a look at him as well? Yeah. Who was that?
Yeah, definitely. That happens a lot as well. But I'm sure Shane will say that you kind of have your eye on the players anyway, don't you? Like if you're looking at the team that they're playing against.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, usually what you'll find is you'll go, oh, he's a decent player. Have a look, and you realise he's not eligible for 2 years.
That happens a lot.
That happens a lot for me, I tell you. But yeah, like I said before on the show, kind of one of the things I like doing is I like watching highlights, because whilst I might be watching Shedeur Sanders highlights, I can also see what Travis Hunter's doing at the same time. And, it'll be the same. You can watch Benjamin Morrison highlights, where I can maybe watch what Xavier Watts is doing and what the tackle Harold, what's his name?
Harold Cross.
Harold Cross, thank you. I was going to say Harold Cross. You know, you're watching one player there, but at the same time, you can watch 2, 3, or 4 different players, and you just rewind it back. What did that player do there? Because if that player didn't make a play, it's not going to show because it's not on their highlight, so to speak, because they did nothing. But you can watch what they're doing when they do nothing. You know, did they do nothing in that play because the coverage was so good, but they're not paying attention? So yeah, you know, it is always a good way to kind of just see if someone else takes your eye, quickly jot down their number. What player is that? Saying he's not eligible for 2 years. Great.
But this one as well. I just add this one as well to show that the RPO option. So this is a run pass option again. This time, the D end and the D tackle crash in on the running back. So instead of handing the ball off, he keeps this one and runs himself. So there's always going to be a running play. This was an RPO. Sorry, what do you call it again, Shane? Fucking. It's sorry. It's just, basically, it's the option. It's an option run. He's keeping it or the running back's keeping it or getting it, and he sees the players crashing down, so he makes the correct decision to keep the ball and then pick up the first down with his legs, just showing that he has that versatility of getting the first down. Next,
and it's like I'm not saying he is that guy, but you can kind of see very, very, and I don't want anyone to run away with what I'm about to say, but you can see kind of Josh Allen like movement and the way we've seen Dable use Daniel Jones in similar ways as well. You got that's why I'm on board with Jackson Dark. I think Jackson Dark will be one of them players who just meets what Dable wants to do like absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And this one here, you'll see now, like, you know, just showing him under pressure. Like that's a really, it wasn't caught, but how accurate was that pass considering he was absolutely getting drilled? And, you know, if it's underthrown, the receiver's chest catching it, and if it's overthrown, it's going out through the end zone, so it's not in any danger. So I just want to throw this one to show him sort of like throwing under duress as well. So this one I wanted to put in, obviously, because it shows throwing out wide. I said a lot of it was out wide, and this is just an inaccurate throw. So he's got a good base there. He's got good protection, and just the throw just got away from him and sealed a little bit further than the wide receiver out there. So it's not all perfect, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I want to put this in to show that he does have these type of throws in his arsenal as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd probably put that down as a negative play in terms of like, I don't think he's a great throw. I don't even think he goes to the right guy here. I think for me, I'd probably dump it off to the running back here because the running back's free there straight away. Yeah, he's going to get tackled instantly, but you're probably still going to gain 4 yards. If you're gaining 4 yards, I mean, obviously, I don't know the circumstances for this play. This could have been a 3rd and 10 for all I know. But, you know, it's not a great throw, and I don't think it's the greatest decision considering there's kind of two defenders within the area there.
Yeah. You're 100% right. I think it's a bad decision and a bad throw. It didn't cost him, and he should have done the check down here.
Cool. All right. Any final quarterback tips then before we move on to the next position? Or do you think, or have you guys covered everything you want to cover?
Just don't draft anyone called Jones.
I think a lot of it's scheme
dependent. Knows how to slide, right?
Some things are completely transferable and some things are manufactured, like some of the schemes and stuff like that. So it's just about just watching getting all the stats, getting all the measurables, getting all that type of stuff together, and I collate it on a spreadsheet. And it's just about trusting your eyes. Like, you know, does he make good decisions? Generally, they're going to make bad decisions a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? They are like college players, but can you see enough from the film you've seen that you think it will translate?
Nice. Cool. All right, then. Moving on. Receivers then. And he's on the screen. Well, his name's on the screen, as we can see. I'm not going to draw his name. I'm not going to... No.
Come on, Dan. I don't think you're going to be far off. What you reckon?
Let's call him T. McMillan. There we go. Be on the safe side.
Teteroa.
There
you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's decent.
Go on. Go on.
Days.
Ching, go on. Tetero McMillan, wide receiver out of. I don't know that. I don't know college. Sorry.
So with wide receivers, like you're looking at stuff like obviously size and stuff like that, speed, agility, the strength, can they beat press coverage? Are they good in the run game? Right running, how crisp are the routes? How good are their hands? Catching traffic. Do they catch close to their body, or do they catch in front of their face mask? Catch in front of their face mask is preferable, but will they be able to catch and run after the catch? That's a massive one as well. When the ball's in the hand, how elusive are they? How well can they get away from defenders? Do they track the ball in the air well? These are all the type of things like you look for, as well as all the other stuff that we talked about, like character, team player, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, a big one for me. I like to kind of watch. It's one that's not really picked up by many people, but I like to see how much of a willing blocker they am. Kind of in a running player, they there, because if it's not really thought of with wide receiver. If you're a wide receiver and you're a rookie wide receiver, if you are willing to block, you're going to get more snaps, and by getting more snaps is more opportunities. Whereas if you're not willing to kind of get too involved in the run game, so to speak, and going after DBs and blocking them, you're not going to earn the trust of the coaches either. So like it's not really seen in terms of like wide receiver type, which is where you have to kind of the running back type. But I just like to see how much of a willing blocker they are. Are they willing to get their hands dirty?
Yeah, one of the things I like about McMillan as well, you'll see in the clips here, like he beats press coverage really well. He's really good hand usage to get away from the cornerbacks. He catches the ball in front of him. He's not a body catcher. He catches with his hands, and he looks to get upfield. As soon as he gets that ball straight upfield, you'll see here, like he tries to make up the extra yards, and he's a big-bodied wide receiver as well. He's 6'5", 212 pounds. He's that prototypical X receiver, and he's gonna go top 5, top 10 probably in this draft. But he's the type of player who, again, I think would suit the Giants like so well with Nick Neighbors.
So when obviously with receivers, obviously route running is a really, really key thing. But what do you look for when they're running routes?
So I love to see how quickly they get in and out of their breaks. Especially against man versus zone, how different. They'll run the same route, but how will they run it? Will they run it slightly differently? Because if they're in zone, you don't want to run like a dig across the field, running into a safety or running into a linebacker. So will you find the soft spot in the zones between those players and stuff like that? Or if you're running them in man coverage, can you create separation between yourself and the defender?
Yeah, I mean, like I will say, for me, I think on offense, wide receiver is probably one of the hardest positions to scout because you don't know if they've run the right route or not. You don't know what they were meant to do. Were they meant to run a curl? Was it meant to be a post? You don't actually know. So you just kind of have to go with what your eyes see, kind of thing, and you don't actually know whether they've done the right thing or not. So usually it's okay. How cleanly do they get in and out of them routes? Again, do they get physical with a DB to shake them off? A big thing for me is I like to kind of watch their feet. How well do they kind of break down and try and like throw a defender off, drop the shoulder one way, a little bit like in football, drop the shoulder one way and go another. Like Kev says, what they do in the open field is important. The kind of the direction that they're running, especially in this kind of tape, because you can kind of see from here as to where the safety potential is. So are they running, away from the safety, or they're going to try and run to the safety and maybe try and juke move or hurdle, try and get a little bit fancy.
And you'll see in this throw here now, this is a throw that probably shouldn't be made. But when you've got someone as fast as him and as big as him, he can go up and such sure hands. Like that these are NFL catches here. Like the way he gets himself open, he looks so easy for him. He just seems to be open all the time. And look, that's a great catch there. You'll see it now from this angle. You probably really shouldn't throw it, but look at it, number 4 coming across there. Look at all those defenders, and he just goes up, plucks it, not a bother. No one in it, really contesting him.
So how hard is it, and what do you have to account for when you're watching a wide receiver who's got a below average quarterback?
Well, what you'll see a lot is how good is their body controlled catching the ball, like, because a lot of times these throws will be slightly off target. Can they manipulate their body when they're in the air to be able to snag in those type of balls? And also, there's a lot of times when it's like interceptions or the ball sort of like on the fingertips, and it's like, well, that was a drop, and it's like, no, that was on the QB, and that's kind of up to you to make those kind of differentiate between is a wide receiver ran a bad route, or should he have caught that, or is it just a really, really bad play from the quarterback?
I think the other thing to take into account as well is like who are they being covered by?
Yeah.
Are they being covered by a player who's potentially going to be in the NFL, or are they, being covered by an AOG, as Mel Kiper likes to call them, and that's another occupation, guys. Someone who, they're at college, they're doing their studies, but they're probably going to go and be a plumber, or they're going to go and work in an office. You have to take into account for that, because especially wide receivers, some of the players, you've got someone like T-Mac, who is a surefire first round pick, probably top 10, top 12 pick, most definitely. And I mean, I don't know who this game is against, but I can probably tell you it's probably not going to be an NFL caliber corner that's covering him in this game. So that's kind of where, in terms of watching tape, I like to try and find out, especially bowl games. Bowl games are great when the players don't opt out, because they're going to be coming up against pretty decent opposition.
Mm. So I mean, this is a good place as well to show his long speed, to show someone at 6'5" being able to run that fast and get downfield. And if anything, this ball was slightly underthrown, but he still made it his ball and still got it.
So that's what I was going to kind of say before we move on to the defense side of things. This is kind of like a textbook play of below average quarterback, where he's having to come back, and obviously that could easily be intercepted if he, really gone through with the post and just gone all the way there through the back of the end zone. So he's got the awareness there to turn around and go, okay, I need to locate this ball. It's not where I think it's going to be, but he has the body to control to be able to turn around, slow himself down, and still make the catch.
That's it. And it's the body control, like you said, 100% to be able to run it, but the ball tracking as well. He's tracking the ball so well in the air, and he's a high contested catch. That's why, like, a lot of people have McMillan as their wide receiver 1 in this class.
Cool. Defense then.
Nice. Yeah, let's do it.
So walk us through defense in the same way. I mean, we've got defensive tackle up first. Kev, there seems to be 2 NDs down there. I'm not sure what's happened there.
You didn't police me. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So what are you guys looking for at defensive tackle? So like really anyone on the line, I guess, defensively.
Yeah, I mean, for me, kind of one of the things I look for, especially on the line, is kind of strength, physicality. They're the things that are going to blow off on tape in the first 3 to 5 seconds of any tape. Is the player strong? Is he physical? Is he, recognising the play? Play recognition is a big one. If it's a toss to a running back and it's a D tackle, are they shedding their block straight away and going to try and maybe cut the running back's route off where they would run to, or are they maybe going to shuffle to the left, anticipate where the running back's going to be running, and then kind of try and catch them up there? Any defensive player tackling's a big one. How do that tackle? Do they wrap up the tackles? Do that tackle in a way that means the player then can't kind of be brought down, so that they kind of shed the tackle, so to speak? Excuse me. Then the kind of key ones that I look at straight off the bat. Again, a lot of the skating is the same across the board in terms of opposition, measurables, all that stuff kind of stays the same, so we're not going to be mentioning that. But like I say, 2 big ones for me is how physical they are, how strong they are, how well do they recognise a play instantly? Are they able to recognise that it's a running play? Are they able to recognise a passing play? Kind of how quick they're able to do it, so it's like processing information. Because if it kind of takes a defensive tackle 5 or 6 seconds to recognise that that's a pass, that's too long for me. I want you to recognise that within the first 3 seconds minimum. And then kind of not so much with D tackles or edges players that play with their hands in the ground, But especially with linebackers, again, watching their feet. I like just what are they on their toes ready pre-snap? Like one of the things I've always been a big fan of is players that are kind of bouncing on their toes just before the ball snaps. It means bam, I'm ready. They're not being caught flat-footed. It means that they're paying full attention, and like I say, they anticipate that snap and bang, they can go and do whatever their defensive assignment is. So if it's a blitzing linebacker, they're popping their feet just before the snap. So when the ball snapped, that off and straight at it straight away, or maybe they're dropping into coverage. So feet pop and then bam, they can drop into coverage straight away within the first 2 or 3 seconds.
So
yeah, I mean, pretty similar.
What number are we looking out for, Kev? Just quickly for Howard Cross.
50 something. Yeah, I mean, it should mark him up. I think the first clip, he'll be the 3 technique. Or most of the time, it'll be 3 technique. So as soon as it comes on the screen, you see better from here. Yeah. So the over the center now, 56.
Number 56. Okay.
So some of the things were like, just run defense. How will they play run defense? The gap. Can they hold their ground for their maintain their gap? Do they anchor well? Do they tackle? How do they tackle? Is it do they wrap up properly? What's the technique? Do they use swim moves, bull rushes, other type of pass rush moves? How quickly they get off the snap? And look at versatility as well. They play 3 technique, 1 technique, and they play 5 technique. These are the type of things we're looking at here. So this first one here, I was kind of looking at it, and you can see the hard cross, especially he's 6'1", 290. So he's actually a smaller D tackle, and you can see here that he just gets bullied on this. You can see a bigger, stronger Texas A&M guards absolutely grabs him and moves him to one side. So so this is a negative play, and it's like okay, so we have to watch out for that. That he isn't sort of like going to be a nose tackle as such. Mm-hmm. But then this one, you'll see again from the back. This is him getting a sack. You'll see because I've watched him, and he's more of a pass rushing interior player. Look at the hand moves there, like the swim move to get over and around the guard instead of engaging with the bigger, stronger man. He uses his quickness off the snap and his swim move to get through him and past him to be able to get there and get the sack.
So, Shane, when you're sort of looking at something like this, obviously Texas A&M offensive line that obviously comes into play here in the terms of the opposition watching what they've just done and then watching this one here. How do you sort of differentiate between those? Between which? Sorry. The previous one where he got bodied and then something like this. Is it attacking the gap, or is it?
I mean, if you watch the centre's kind of, this is a bad play for me by the centre, because if you watch, he snaps the ball and he just stands there like just for a few seconds, and then that's how he crosses out to catch him off guard, because he's just looking, he's like, oh shit, but he's realised too late by then. So for me, I think it's also a poor play by the centre. I like centres that snap the ball, look, bam, go and get somebody. Like if I've got no one, I'm going to go and find someone. I'm going to go and drill somebody. I'm going to go and attack someone. I'm going to go and engage with someone. Whereas he doesn't. He spends just that kind of 2 seconds, a little bit too long, looking around like, oh, this is all good. This is chilly. And then before you know it, you got Harry crossing his face. Harry Cross has beat him and he's given up a sack. I don't know if Kev maybe sees something different there.
No, 100%. I think it just shows more that here's one here again. There's the run play, and it shows that, the 6'1", 290 comes into play here, because as soon as he gets 2 men on him, he gets moved. Whereas when it's obvious passing downs, when it's one-on-one protection, he can beat that with his quickness. So when you're looking at players like this, you're like, well, how will he translate to the NFL? And he will translate as being a pass rushing interior player on obvious passing downs. You wouldn't necessarily have him in for a sort of first down when their team's obviously running the ball.
I mean, I'm not putting any Notre Dame slander here, Kev, but you'll appreciate what I'm going to say. But you watch this tape, and then you think about when you've watched the tape involving Mason Graham, and you're like, there's a gulf there.
And that's why I wanted to play this is another sort of good. He's on the nose here, and he sheds the center there again, showing that he's got skills, to play in the NFL as a pass rushing interior player, but you stick 2 bodies on him or a big body on him, and he will be moved and he'll be less effective in the run game. But you watch the tape, and that's things. So you will have designated plays for him to come in on, and that's what you have to sort of think. Now, obviously, going throw up hard across the third. His dad's such a legend with the Giants, so had to get him in and get some tape on there. But it's good and the bad, and it's about looking at it and saying, okay, how does this translate, and where would you draft him? He's a day 3 player. He's going to be picked in day 3. This isn't a day 1 or 2 type of someone will come in and be a difference maker. But on passing downs, can I see him next to Sexy Dexy and the edge rushers? The answer is yes.
Nice. All right, then let's move on to last position. We're going to look at the safeties. Looking at Xavier Watts. What do we look for in safeties, boys?
Yeah, safeties. The big one is kind of like, are they better in passing or run supporting? Which one are they kind of more suited to? Can they potentially do both? How well they pick up busted coverage as well for me. Like, I like to see a safety that can recognise, oh shit, my cornerback's not done his job. I'm just sort of sitting here waiting to see if anything develops, but I need to go and deal with this kind of problem, essentially. Like, safety, it sounds stupid. It's like a safety valve at the end of the day. Like, they're at the backfield. They can see everything. That's the one position where they can see the whole play kind of developing. And one of the things I like to see safeties doing before the snap as well is telling players if they're in the wrong position, because it's the safety that can see. Like I say, they've got the view of the whole field. They've probably got the best view for the defense, to be honest, which is why you kind of find it's either a linebacker or a safety tends to wear the green dot. And, it's a safety more often than not, because they can, get the communications from the DC. They're in a position to see where everybody is, if they're in the wrong position, and they're moving them around. And then when that ball snapped, they're picking up if it's a run or is it a play, how quick they're processing that information again. And then, if it's a run, how well they tackle. Safeties are kind of your last option sometimes. If that running back breaks through, it's going to be the safety that's going to go one-on-one with them. Likewise, if it's a passing play, busted coverage, wide receivers brought the ball in, it's going to be the safety, it's going to be the last man for him to beat. So kind of how well they tackle in the open field.
Yeah, all great points. How I like to look at how well they play man coverage against tight ends and running backs when they're one-on-one. When they're in zone, do they read the quarterback's eyes? What they cover? Do they do single high safety? Can they play split the field as well? Run support, how quickly they diagnose there's a run, and can they get there and make the tackle? Interceptions, you like safeties to have interceptions, so I like to look at that. And pass breakups, versatility. Can they play both safety spots and maybe a little bit of nickel and linebacker? These are the all type of things that you're trying to look at. And like someone like Xavier Watts was defensive player of the year last year. He's going up against Caleb Williams in this game. He was All-American last year, All-American this year. And he's just covering the outside here. He takes a great angle. If he goes too steep on the angle for this tackle, then the runner could get downfield, and he times it perfectly to on the edge of the field there to be able to make the tackle and give up no more yards.
When you're looking at like different stats and stuff, and obviously you're tallying up interceptions. So, for example, the first clip we watched, obviously there was the interception on that. That's a clear overthrow by the quarterback. Is that something where you have to think about almost like true interception rate? Should we say, like, where it's an interception that he's made a play as opposed to where it's kind of just sat in his stomach and he's then got the return on it?
Yeah, definitely. Not all interceptions are created equal, as we know with Darren Musai's interception at the beginning of the season. But on that play as well, he is playing the center field, playing single high safety, because we play a lot of man coverage at Notre Dame. So again, part of it is, okay, he's in the right spot to make the play. And this one here as well, sort of as a play action play, he's diagnosed that the danger's coming from his right hand side, and he's broke on the ball and connected with a player at the same time the ball arrived and was able to break it up and not allow it. Because if you see the trailing player, that was his man to cover, he's read the situation, reacted to the player coming in his zone, and he's gone and smashed him.
One of the other things I like to watch safeties doing as well, and I don't know, I don't think Watts does it too much, Kev, you might be able to correct me, but I love to watch if a safety goes up into the box to blitz.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favourite things to watch is a safety blitz, because the way they just, that's where you see a safety speed, you know, especially if they've not been picked up. Look, I don't know if Watts is that kind of safety. I've not watched all the tape on him, to be honest, but that's kind of something else I like to look at for, is how much of a willing blitzer are they, and how quick they do get to that quarterback.
Yeah. They didn't really blitz him a lot because he was kind of, like you said, the safety valve. Because he sits back there and reads everything so well. And on this play again, this interception here, you'll see, like, you know, just he's on the left hand side here. He's covering his zone. He's covering the guy through. And this is a little bit lucky in the sense that this is thrown right at him, but he was helping double cover the player that was trying to make a run down the seam. But like you said, though, he doesn't blitz a lot because I think Notre Dame blitz linebackers more than they do their safeties. But yeah, because Xavier was that sort of like free safety, cleaning everything up, and you'll see with a lot of his tackling as well. Like he'll come in and sort of like be the last man to make the tackle. So you know, if he doesn't make that tackle, some of the runs could be gone for touchdowns. So he's very much like you know, I said it just a second ago, but like you said, Shane, you know, he is that safety valve, and having him back there, you know, was massive for our defense the last couple of years. And he's still learning. He's only been playing safety for 2 years. He was a wide receiver when he came to Notre Dame. So stuff like that as well. Like you look at the background and say, well, how long have they been playing the position? Is there room to grow? If someone's been a receiver their whole life, from high school through college, and they're a fifth-year player or whatever, and there's still a lot in their game that needs working on, you think, can they get any better? Where's the floor and ceiling? Whereas someone's come in, they've changed positions. It's like you see it a lot of time with tight ends who used to be quarterbacks in high school, come in as quarterbacks in college, can't break the depth chart, so they move to tight end. So like, look at that. So there's scope to grow then, and actually, you know, they can get better over time in the NFL.
Nice. All right, boys. That was a very, very thorough breakdown of those four players and what we look at on the tape. Is there any like last tips you guys can give to anyone watching or listening, that, you know, what angle of film do you guys prefer watching? Do you prefer watching like side on? Do you prefer watching like the sort of, like I said, the Madden angle? You know, which one's your preference? Like, because some might have other preferences, but what ones do you guys go for?
Well, the thing I love about the 22 all 22 is you get both. You get both of those clips. Like, so you get to see all the snaps by that player, from both angles. So you get to see, like, you know, if your eyes were correct from the side of, did I see that right? Or you go back and you can actually see it from behind view. It's great for the quarterback, obviously, the behind view, and offensive line. It gives you a real feel for the offensive line, because we don't watch offensive line. We see the ball go to the quarterback or running back, and we see what they do with the ball. We don't really sort of pay too much attention to the offensive line. So the behind all 22 gives a great view for offensive linemen to see how are they actually blocking and are they doing their assignment correctly.
Yeah, I think for me it depends on the position. I prefer the Madden view for running backs, quarterbacks, O-line, D-line, edge, linebackers. Then I prefer the side-on view for wide receivers, safeties, and cornerbacks, just because I feel like you see a lot more of the play with them. So it's just about which angle gives you the biggest view of the field, or the biggest, like, kind of look at one player in particular.
An all 22 film is very hard to come by as well. I will say that, like, it doesn't, you know, you can't just like rock up on YouTube and it's all there. It's you need to find ways to get it.
Yeah, nice. Craig, any last questions?
No, I think that's it. I think all I'd say is, you know, listeners and viewers, if there are any other positions that you'd like us to do, we can always look at, you know, potentially doing those as an additional bonus thing. You know, our schedule is pretty packed in the terms of what we've got coming up over the next few months, but I'm sure we can kind of do a short, snappy 15-20 minutes on another couple of positions if there's anything else that you'd like us to do. So just kind of send those in, and I can have a chat to Kev and Shane, or both of them, and see what we can do.
Yeah, sweet. That'd be good with me as well. I'd enjoy that. So if anyone does want to get some other positions in, let us know. Sounds good. Kev, Shane, anything last time before we round off?
Abdul Carter, no matter what.
Love it. I mean, we talked about we talked about like each position there. Like, if anyone wants to, we can always chat about how we put together rankings and stuff like that, and how we sort of like process all that. If anyone, drop us a message and stuff like that, we can discuss all types of scouting stuff and draft stuff. And there's going to be lots of draft stuff coming up. Very much looking forward to it. We're starting to, now that all the college players have declared or gone back to school, we can start to really sort of get into the film now and start, getting these guys in tiers. And, I always like to stick around on them as well, where I think they'll go. So, we can start getting that done now.
Sweet. Awesome. Alrighty. Anything from the viewers before we go, Craig? Anything come in? Any other questions?
No, I think that is it.
All right, sweet. All right. Cool. Well, that is all we have time for this evening. After that lesson in how to watch tape and watch film and what we're looking for. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I've made some notes, so thanks, always appreciate it. We'll be back next Tuesday to preview the Senior Bowl, and we'll also bring you PFF's top 10 free agents as well. So we've got that to look forward to on Tuesday evening, 8:30 usual time. Anything else to add before we go, guys?
They're just, the draft's going to be coming up. I don't know where Kev's at with his kind of rankings and type, but kind of, I'm pretty much done with quarterbacks now. That top 5 has been finalised to an extent. Might be subject to a couple of changes here or there, but the type kind of content really starts now, essentially, for us.
Yeah, no, I'm glad before we're back on again. I love it when we can get on, get chatting and stuff, go on the odd tangent here and there. I'm looking forward to the next few weeks of, we know where we are. We're picking 3rd overall, picking 2nd in the 2nd, we're picking 1st in the 3rd. So, some decent picks there, some decent players in the draft. Just don't overreach for anyone, yeah?
I'm sure there'll be plenty of that. I'll be looking forward to seeing somebody reach for a player, and me and Shane stare at each other, stare at the screen, meme 2.0. But no, that was really helpful. From myself and for Dan, who obviously don't watch the film side of things. Everything we learn about the prospects is normally from you guys, and then the odd sort of podcast or mock draft here and there. It makes sense. So
yeah, nice. I just thoroughly enjoyed this evening. I think it's been a really good episode. I've enjoyed getting to know more about how to watch tape and view tape and what I'm looking for. So I'm definitely going to utilize those tips that you guys have given me. So I really appreciate it. Roll on next week. Check out our socials for all the latest news by following the links in the description. Give this episode a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified on when we are going live. Thanks to everyone watching for all your comments. As usual, we appreciate the love. And my thanks as ever go to Craig, to Shane, and to Kev for joining me. We are signing off until next time. Let's go, Giants.